Karoline Leavitt is stepping down as White House press secretary. She served honorably. She did her duty spectacularly. I mean, better than anybody in recent history, in my view. And of course, she has been, and the resignation is fodder for the late night hosts, including the normally nice guy, Jimmy Fallon. This is how he handled it.
Some more big news today. Trump announced that Karoline Leavitt is resigning as White House press secretary. That story again, Karoline Leavitt was definitely one of the staffers left on Air Force One. It's like, oh, really? You didn't take me? Yeah, apparently she's moving on to an easier job working as the press secretary for Taylor Farms Lettuce.
Oh. Okay, it's fine. It's not great. I just feel like Karoline Leavitt has taken a beating by the left-wing press, who really thinks she's like a handmaiden to the devil. And all she really is a 28-year-old, extremely talented young Republican who did her patriotic duty and served a president she loved, managed the very difficult dual role of mother to two babies while doing one of the most difficult jobs in the world. And this is totally foreseeable. I don't think there's anything about, oh, she had to leave, she's mad that she was one of the decoys on Air Force One, or any of the other bullshit I'm reading about her online by the left-wing rags that can't stand her. I think she genuinely wants to be at home with her baby daughter and her son, who's only now about 2. And good for her.
Well, she can be nasty. But sometimes she has no choice, right? But Karoline may have one of the hardest jobs in the White House. She has to deal with all of you all of the time. And you can be very difficult. You can be very, very difficult people. But I'm probably being a little bit oversensitive. Sometimes I really do think that some of you don't like me.
Karoline Leavitt resigned from being the press secretary in the White House. But we've been getting a lot of reactions. Some are furious, some are celebrating. Some are celebrating our exit. Let us watch this.
Huge news and unexpected news, obviously. Karoline just put out an additional post saying that serving as the White House press secretary of the last year and a half has been the honor and adventure of a lifetime. She expresses her gratitude to the president for the privilege of speaking on his behalf at the podium, and talks about how challenging it has been working in one of the most demanding and important jobs while also welcoming 2 young children in recent years. You know, she is the youngest press secretary in history. Huge achievement in and of itself, and was a very effective messenger for this administration, and also for reporters. Very accessible and in the room with the president, as opposed to under the Biden administration, for example, when we would try to get answers from Karine Jean-Pierre, often it was apparent that she wasn't as close to the decision makers and able to give us valuable information as Karoline has been in her time here. So this is going to be a big loss for this White House. Obviously, there have been others who have tried to sort of fill the gap during the time she was on maternity leave. You had a number of cabinet secretaries deliver a few briefings, but nobody did it as regularly or as effectively, really, as Karoline in being able to answer questions on a variety of topics and whatever the news of the day was. So this is going to be a big change here at the White House. And obviously, we are looking into how this role might be filled. In the meantime, she does express, and the president in his post seems to indicate as well, that she will continue to play a role, a support role as an outside advisor. But this is all just breaking in the last few moments, Martha.
No one realized after Trump announced that Karoline will be leaving the White House. Watch this.
No one realized that within just 12 hours after Karoline Leavitt submitted her resignation, President Trump immediately made 3 surprising decisions. Recently, the White House suddenly announced that Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, had submitted her resignation to Trump and would leave her position at the end of this month. The announcement quickly sparked widespread discussion. While people were speculating about the reason behind her departure, President Trump quickly responded to the news. First, Trump immediately shared a statement on social media. He praised Leavitt's contributions during her time in office. He said that since 2018, she had demonstrated true leadership in the White House and had been an important force behind his return to the presidency. Trump also said he fully understood and respected her decision to step away. After all, as a mother, Nothing is more important than being there for your children. Second, Trump made a request to Leavitt. He hoped that even after leaving her position, Leavitt would continue to serve as his outside senior advisor. With the upcoming midterm elections approaching, he believes he needs Leavitt's help to achieve a historic victory. Finally, although Trump has not announced a plan for her replacement, some media outlets reported that he may appoint his own deputy press secretary to take over the role. Others suggested that he might not officially appoint a new press secretary right away, instead having someone temporarily fill the role, similar to when Leavitt previously took maternity leave. Regardless, Leavitt has been an outstanding press secretary. We wish her all the best in the future.
Trump is saying Karoline could never be replaced. Listen to this.
How's Karoline doing? She doing good? Should Karoline be replaced?
No.
Huh?
That's up to you, sir.
It'll never happen.
Nobody wants to.
I
say she does a great job. Thank you. Do you want to elaborate on the
Katie, and those lips, they move like a machine gun, right?
Caroline's resignation is not as simple as her official statement claims. She said she's stepping aside to spend time with her kids, but remember, she rushed back to work just 4 days after giving birth, proof she's driven to grind. I spent 8 years inside the White House, so I know exactly what goes on behind closed doors here. There's way more to this story. First, the job never lets up. She's forced to take the heat for every controversial comment and field sharp reporter questions nonstop. The constant stress wears people thin, and few can stick it out long term. Second, she saw the writing on the wall and chose to cut and run early. Public sentiment's shaky, and endless tough battles lie ahead. Staying means she'd keep absorbing public backlash nonstop. Third, no one can tell if those viral Air Force One awkward moments are the last straw that broke the camel's back. Karoline's always taken all the flack for the administration, Trump's most trusted right hand. Losing such a reliable shield is a major blow to Trump.
Just watch this.
I've been in this press world now for quite some time, and it's constant and busy and evolving. So it took me some time, several days to really wrap my arms around everything that's going on here at the White House. But thankfully, working for the president, people always ask, what's it like to be, his spokesperson? And he makes it very easy because he just tells you like it is. And he's so accessible, not just to me, but to all of his staff here. And so it was a GIF where I was really able to figure out what was going on here in the building, obviously receive briefings from the Secretary of State and our policymakers, our legislative affairs team, what's going on in Capitol Hill. They all got me up to speed pretty quickly, and now we're back out at the podium.
It's just so funny to say that, he tells it like it is. He is the most dishonest politician in modern American history, an inveterate pathological liar. But so too is Leavitt, right? And this is where I know some people in my audience, some people in the comment section, perhaps some of you don't like it when I say this, but the truth is Leavitt is very good at her job. When you consider how incompetent, corrupt, unpopular Donald Trump is, and you have to be his spokesperson, she actually does a pretty good job, all things considered, to try to spin things in his favor. Now, she can't possibly win because the facts are so squarely against Trump. And again, he's the most unpopular president in American history, and he actively makes her job harder. But when you consider what she's working with, she is herself a very capable and impressive liar and spin doctor. She is by far the most capable of his MAGA press secretaries, much better than Sean Spicer, who was the first, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's now like the governor, I think, of Arkansas. But she was also a press secretary for Trump. She was better than Spicer, but not very good. Kayleigh McEnany, who is also a Fox News host now, she was better than Sarah Huckabee Sanders and whatever. And so Leavitt is kind of the culmination of that MAGA transformation. She is a vicious, dishonest person, but very good at what she does, which is why she frustrates, myself and so many others there, because she just lies with impunity. Now, it's also fun to see her get flustered, to see her, get fact-checked by reporters left, right, and center. And we've already seen she has reached the limits of her powers of dishonesty. She's, it's been an ever-increasing disaster as the Trump administration continues. But that's because the Trump administration has just been an ever-increasing disaster as well. So it'll makes you wonder what the hell Leavitt's going to be forced to say in defense of Trump a year from now. If it's this bad already, what's the sort of shit she's going to be saying in 2027?
They all got me up to speed pretty quickly, and now we're back out at the podium.
Well, speaking of the midterms, we know the tradition. The party that has the White House typically has an uphill battle for the midterms. And when you look at the top issue among voters right now, it seems to be the cost of living. So what steps have been taken by the White House to really address that? Because that's going to be important as we head towards November.
Yeah. Well, the president and the...
Scott Jennings is saying Karoline she has been a great press secretary of Donald Trump, that she did a great job. Watch what he's saying. Do you agree with him?
I commit to telling the truth from this podium every single day.
Well, that didn't age well. With Karoline Leavitt announcing that she is leaving the White House at the end of the month, I wanted to count down the top 5 biggest misstatements she made during her time as White House press secretary. And you're really going to want to stick around for number 1.
Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far, how many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals.
No, they're not. And here, Karoline kind of gives us a 2 for the price of 1. Simply being undocumented does not make you a criminal. Some people came here legally. Maybe they were waiting for a green card or overstayed their visa. That's a civil violation. It's not a criminal one. And the question was specifically about the 3,500 people that ICE had arrested to that point, with estimates that roughly half of them had no prior criminal record.
He's proposing tax hikes in the form of tariffs.
He's actually not implementing tax hikes. Tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries. Tariffs are a tax cut for the American people.
Another twofer. No, tariffs are not a tax hike on foreign countries. The U.S. importer pays the tariff and then typically passes that cost on to the consumer, you and me. And also no, tariffs are definitely not a tax cut either. In fact, Trump's tariffs made goods more expensive for Americans, according to the Federal Reserve on its own website. None of what she said is how tariffs actually work.
President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the Doge team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. They suspect that there are tens of millions of deceased people who are receiving fraudulent Social Security payments.
Yeah, number 3 was so bad that Trump's Social Security chief came out the very next day and reversed course. Yes, there were some outdated records. You want to know how many actually got checks? 0.2%, a rounding error. Nowhere near tens of millions.
Is the president okay with this bill adding to the deficit?
This bill does not add to the deficit. In fact, according to the Council of Economic Advisors, this bill will save $1.6 trillion.
False. The government's own accountants estimated the exact opposite, that the big beautiful bill would add almost $3.5 trillion to the deficit in the next 10 years. And finally, at number 1, drum roll please.
Doge and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money.
PolitiFact found no evidence that any U.S. money was budgeted to buy condoms in Gaza, ever spent in the past to buy condoms in Gaza, or ever planned to in the future. And that is the biggest misstatement that Karoline Leavitt has made as White House press secretary. So far. I mean, we'll see how many more she crams in before she leaves at the end of August. Or so she says.
So I would say the most important thing you need to know about Karoline Leavitt leaving as press secretary is that morale is so bad in the U.S. military, sailors are trying to throw themselves overboard from the USS Abraham Lincoln because they and others are realizing that they are just tools and toys for the Republican Party to make more money off of oil and gas industries and defense contracts.
Just watch this.
Breaking news, Karoline Leavitt. This is on you, okay? Was ICE, was anyone in the federal government told that the FBI is not going to investigate killings by a federal agency? Did it happen or not? If it didn't happen, put it out. Put out an official statement that the FBI will still do what it does for every other federal agency, which is investigate potential crimes of federal law. That's it. That's it. It's on you. That's your job. And don't distract us with how protesters are bad or this is bad. We all know what's bad. We all know how much bad there is. But this matters. So, is the FBI still investigating, or is the DOJ going to do its own run around and let DHS, Homeland Security, do its own investigating of itself, which no other federal agency gets that kind of exemption from the FBI? Do your job.
Well, what these Democrats do is hide behind cute labels like the Democrat Socialists of America. They should be called the Destructive Socialists of America. Just look at what AOC and the Democrat Party has done over the past 2 years. They have blocked all of the significant policy that President Trump and Republicans have implemented, like the largest middle-class tax cuts in American history. Every single Democrat voted against that. If they had their way, they will massively raise your taxes on 90% of Americans across this country. They say just for the wealthy. No. Middle class, working class Americans in this country will have more of their hard-earned money taken out of their paychecks if Democrats are given a chance at power.
I'm not saying that Karoline Leavitt has daddy issues, but she did marry someone older than her father. If you have daddy issues and your daddy uses you as a decoy, you're going to be very sad, and maybe you'll quit your job. So here we have Karoline Leavitt on the left, and then we've got what appears to be Trump's right hand, his other lady that does the tweeting for him. And again, maybe there's a rift between the blondes. I don't really know. People are going to say, "Well, she's heavy breathing right there." Maybe she just doesn't like to fly, but she's chatting with Trump's lady, not a smile in sight. And Trump's lady, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. The sycophant apparently made it on to the getaway jet, and Karoline didn't. So you have some soul searching. You go, really? This president doesn't care about me. He wouldn't piss on me if I was on fire. That type of deal, right? So Karoline Leavitt resigns 24 hours after it comes out Trump hid in a catering truck using White House officials as decoys and press corps as human shields in Turkey after the Iranian threat. Very fascinating. Now, again, if I had to hide in a catering truck, I'd be stuffing my pockets. You ever go to the Amex lounge before a flight? I don't know if you guys are platinum members like me, but you go into the Amex lounge, you start stuffing your pockets full of cookies, you get ready for that flight. There's no better flight than when you realize you just got cookies in your pocket. Let me know in the comment section. Do you think she just wanted to spend more time with her babies, or do you think she felt abandoned? I mean, if you have daddy issues, I'm not saying that Karoline Leavitt has daddy issues, but she did marry someone older than her father. If you have daddy issues and your daddy uses you as a decoy, you're going to be very sad, and maybe you'll quit your job.
Would you looky there? Karoline Leavitt. Another one bites the dust. She's out of here. Hey, I don't remember any of Joe Biden's appointees ever getting fired, but I remember Trump's entire last administration getting fired. And so far, half of his new administration has been fired. And it's always the women. Do you find a pattern here? Who wants to bet that Natalie Harp becomes the next speaker for the White House?
Karoline Leavitt's maternity leave, unfortunately, has ended way too soon. And here she is talking to Jesse Waters about Gen Z, and the hypocrisy and lack of self-awareness is so rich. Play the clip.
These kids, and I call them kids because they're in their 20s, and they've never had real jobs, and they're complaining things are expensive. Yes, things are expensive when you don't have a real job.
That's right.
Do you think that's getting traction, complaining?
Unfortunately, I do, because this generation, my generation, I hate to say it, Gen Z and those younger than me have been raised with just silver spoons in their mouth, just getting everything handed to them. That's not the values this country was built on. It was built on meritocracy and hard work, pulling up your sleeves, pulling yourself up from your bootstraps, and achieving the American dream. And we need to protect.
Okay, this is a woman who is married to a 60-year-old rich guy. So if she wants to talk about putting things in her mouth to advance forward, let's have that conversation, Karoline. Let's talk about what you put in your mouth compared to what hardworking Americans put in their mouth to get the positions where they are. That's first and foremost. Secondly, I think it's incredibly important to talk about the fact that she is completely.
At this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority.
If you look at how this Epstein story sort of evolved over the past week, it's classic Washington hoax.
So we're moving on from that. We have 1.3 active duty service members in this country. Yeah, it's because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist.
So this is Ronaldo Friedman. I tried asking at Steven whether his wife at Katie Miller is possible to replace Karoline.
People are dropping your wife's name as a possible replacement of
Just
Caroline.
ignored the question and walked away.
Do you think your wife will replace Caroline?
See how he's ignoring the journalist. See how he's moving. See how. See everything. Anyway, whom do you think is going to replace Caroline? Tell me what you think down in the comment. I think this is the reason why Caroline left. Let's watch this.
Pam Bondi, Tulsi Gabbard, and Kristi Noem were all pushed out of the Trump administration after Trump got whatever it is he needed out of them. Now it's Karoline Leavitt's turn. I have no doubt that she has had a pre-written resignation just sitting somewhere for a while now, considering the fact that she had a child in May. But you mean to tell me one day after it came out that she was on the decoy plane along with a bunch of other administrative members while Trump ran and hid in a food cart and only took Pete Hegseth on the safe plane, that she resigns? She was there covering the lies and protecting Trump through his war crimes, his illegality, the Epstein files. And this is her line in the sand one day after. It should also be noted that this story is still developing because it came out that the CIA had low confidence in the tip-off that they received from Israeli officials that Trump's life was in danger, which led to his 3-plane plan, which has led to speculations that Israel made up the tip-off to strain the potential ceasefire plan that was in the works because Israel's not done with the war. Personally, I believe there's only one of two reasons why she would have resigned. The first being she was genuinely upset by the fact that she was used as a human meat shield for what is potentially now a manufactured assassination scare. Or two, she has more information that the public doesn't have yet, and she doesn't want to be tied to that and is jumping ship with the other rats. Regardless, it's important that we remember these people when they leave, because when the lawsuits and prosecutions inevitably start, they're not forgotten.
I'm sure the media is going to miss out this lady. She has been answering questions with her confidence. How she used to lie, but she was very confident. That's how she was doing her job perfectly.
Because you're a left-wing hack, you're not a reporter, you're posing in this room as a journalist. The executive branch. Who's the head of the executive branch? The President of the United States. He has the right to fire people within the executive branch. It's a pretty simple answer. With all due respect, only a reporter from the New York Times would ask a question like that. Of course the president supports peaceful protests. What a stupid question. Raquel. I've now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay.
Philip.
And on my follow-up on what you had just said.
Go ahead, Philip.
Caitlin,
I'm not taking your follow-up.
I have a follow-up on something you just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking
Goldsberg.
your follow-up. People are not aligned with the president's vision and the secretary's vision to make our country healthy again, then we will gladly show them the door.
She's soft-launching her departure. That's right. In case you missed it, Satan's mouthpiece said this yesterday.
The question that's political by nature. As you know, I'm not part of the president's political team anymore. I do sit here at the White House as a government employee.
No, demon breath. We don't know. Here's what we do know. She got herself knocked up by her grandpa husband and is due to have the baby in late May. With her first pregnancy, she took like 2 days off or something like that. So she could either do the same thing or decide to stay home, change jobs. Something that's more family friendly yet still helps the movement. What I've said about Josephine Goebbels remains true. She may be evil, but she's not dumb. She chose her words very carefully there because she is distancing herself from Donald Jr. Cheeseburger Trump. It's important to note that the question that was asked is why the president didn't campaign harder against the Virginia redistricting. She says that's a question that's political by nature, which has literally never stopped her from answering a question before, so this is intentional. The next thing she says, as you know, I'm no longer a part of the president's political team. I sit here on the administration. Oh! She's distancing herself from the political team. So when stuff goes down, she wants to be like, oh, I'm just a little admin. I'm just a little secretary. It's all intentional. And I knew this was coming, but if she decides to stay, which she very well could because what she said was not definitive. And we all know if gaslighting was an Olympic sport, she would be a gold medalist. But did she get demoted? That's the question. Not officially. On her X, she still has assistant to the president and the 36th White House press secretary. Still has the same image of Trump. And then on her Instagram, 3 million followers, which is crazy. Always have her Crypt Keeper husband's last name on there. She added it right after she announced the pregnancy. And as you can see below here, she's not like overtly distancing herself, but she's creating plausible deniability. This chick is plotting. She's quiet quitting. That way, when all of this is over, You can point to the groundwork that she's starting to lay out very methodically and thoughtfully so she can come out of this scot-free. Is she going to come back after she has the baby? Right now, for me, it's 50-50. Depends on what's a better look for her. This is something that she shares with McSundown. The only person they actually care about is themselves. Those are my thoughts. I don't think she's been officially demoted. She's quiet quitting. What do you think?
The so-called White House press secretary, who's a disgrace, she's a stone cold liar, had the nerve to stand up there and read talking points being critical of statements all taken out of context that Democrats have made and didn't have a word to say about anything that MAGA extremists have said or done, including providing aid and comfort to violent insurrectionists here at this Capitol on January 6th, who brutally beat police officers. The president then pardoned those violent rioters, one of whom threatened to kill me. He said, kill the terrorist. Where did that language come from? What Republicans use that language? Why did that pardon MAGA extremists, violent insurrectionists, choose to use the language of terrorism directed at me when he threatened to kill me at an event? And this so-called White House press secretary wants to lecture America and lecture us about civility. Get lost, clean up your own house before you have anything to say to us about the language that we use.
Caroline, like, how about Karoline Leavitt? Is that the same way?
You know, with Karoline Leavitt, obviously, I think, you know, being a Trump spokesperson is a very singular job, and you can watch the briefings for yourself. I will say, and I told this story recently, when we were in Saudi Arabia on a trip recently, a couple of months ago, there was this moment where I was in the pool and all the world leaders came in, including the Saudi Crown Prince. We're like covering this event, and the Saudi Crown Prince comes in, and he obviously does not like the press, if you know history at all. And they don't get questions shouted at them like we do in the United States. And Trump walked in and he kind of waved at me. And so I shouted a question to him about how the meeting had gone, because it was this high stakes meeting. And right after that, the Saudi royal guard was like, you cannot come into the next event. And they were, you know, all like, they were deeply upset that I had asked a question, and they were all kind of talking. And I said, no, like, I told the White House press, I was like, you can't like block someone from coming in. Like, that's like kind of our number one thing.
Yeah.
And to Karoline Leavitt's credit, she was like, no, Caitlin's coming in with the rest of the U.S. press. And so I went into the next event.
Wow.
But I think things like that, you know, you can disagree about questions and briefings and whatnot. Press access is like key, and every administration, I think, should protect that.
I love it. All right.
This is my impression of Karoline Leavitt. Democrats are radical, socialists, communists, extreme liberals, you name it, that's what they are.
Is this going to work for them?
Well, I don't think so, and I certainly pray it does not. I believe that there are millions of Americans across this country who see these Democrats for who they are. These are radical, extreme liberals, socialists, communists, whatever you want to call them, Sean. What matters most is their extreme policy positions.
Democrats will try to turn your country into a hellhole. They will abolish ICE. They will pack the Supreme Court. They will do everything to destroy America, and that's why Donald Trump is so great.
This is no longer the Democrat Party of JFK. Heck, this is not even the Democrat Party of Barack Obama. This is a party that has been totally captivated by these far left extreme liberals who support massively raising your taxes, who support abolishing your police, who support abolishing private prisons, who support reopening our southern border and our nation's borders to illegal alien criminals all over the world. These are radical Democrats who support terrible policies across.
I know I am sitting here on Fox News reading these notes to you, trying to scare you, but guess what? I need to do that because Donald Trump is going to lose the midterms, and if he does, we are all going to go to jail.
Board, again, taking away your private property, abolishing the police, banning prisons, and just allowing complete lawlessness and chaos across our country. We had 4 years of that under Joe Biden. Thanks to President Trump and Republicans and common sense policies across the board, our country is safer. Our country is more affordable. We cannot allow these radical, extreme, far left liberals to take power. We have steady progress under President Trump right now. If these radical, extreme liberals are given a chance at power here in Washington, Washington, D.C., they will try to obstruct this president and turn our country into a communist hellhole with every extreme liberal policy that they try to implement.
Caroline, you do know that nobody believes what you're saying anymore, because when you go to the grocery store and the bill hits you, oh yeah, that's the scariest thing right now in America. It ain't the Democrats. Trust me.
At this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority. But if you look at how this Epstein story sort of evolved over the past week, it's classic Washington hoax. So we're moving on from that. We have 1.3 active duty service members in this country. Okay, so you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist.
Not the people saying Karoline Leavitt's resignation caught the White House off guard. Baby, the media is saying that the White House did not see Caroline's resignation coming, that they didn't know that this is what she was about to do. They are in a frenzy because, needless to say, they need somebody who is going to, curate their special messaging ahead of the midterms. Now the midterms is 3 months out. And what they going to do? The same thing that they did while she was on maternity leave and have all of these, I'm not going to call people names, that's not, have all of these placeholders up there saying God knows what about God knows who, Marco Rubio, Scott Besson. Don't nobody want to hear from Scott Besson. Don't nobody want to hear from this guy, Sean Real World Duffy. Nobody wants to hear from these people. We definitely don't want to hear from J.D. Vance. These are the people that were stepping in for her. They just had a constant rotation of current White House officials coming out and giving press briefings. And not for nothing. Look, Karoline Leavitt is leaving. Karoline Leavitt is leaving, and there is no love lost. I think she is a vile human. However, she was effective at her job. Her job is to be vile. She was effective at her job. And so now they're going to have the band of misfits up there saying foolishness. I really hope the Democrats see the opening here and take the opening to control the messaging, because, baby, Mini Marco is not going to be able to control the messaging. Scott Besson, he don't even know how to speak with confidence. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because there is no replacement named. During his first term, he had like 4 press secretaries over the course of the 4 years. And so we'll see how it goes. We shall see how it goes. This is going to get interesting.
Hi, Caroline. Hi, Caroline. We got to keep this quick. I just got a call that I have to be inside. But I'm happy to take a couple questions if you want.
Caroline, why close the deferred resignation program last night if it doesn't seem like the administration hit the numbers that you were looking for federal workers to take the buyout?
I'm not so sure that we didn't hit the numbers we wanted. 75,000 people accepted the buyout program. That's going to save millions of dollars for the American taxpayers, and that's exactly what we wanted.
You didn't want it to be extended by even a couple of days people were waiting for the judge's decision, could have had more time after that?
We put a deadline on it, and the deadline was reached. 75,000 people accepted the offer.
Could you share, Caroline, more information about the reciprocal tariffs that we're expecting today?
Yeah.
Is it something, because we've heard some differing things from different administration officials over recent days, that it might be something that's more of a negotiation that's being announced today, or that they might be tariffs that are announced at a later date?
You'll be hearing from the President of the United States directly on this in about 2 hours, so I will let him speak on it. He's very excited about this reciprocal tariff announcement. His team has been working on it for quite some time. You saw him truth about it bright and early this morning, so he looks forward to seeing all of you in the Oval at 1 o'clock. We will see you then, and then we're going to swear in RFK Jr., who I understand is going to be confirmed.
One question about Russia. Why invite Vladimir Putin to the White House, Caroline, without inviting Volodymyr Zelensky?
Karoline Leavitt is leaving, the youngest person ever to hold the podium, stepping away right now at her career's peak. And she just explained why. Here's what we know. No fluff, just facts. Now let's get to the facts. On Wednesday, President Trump made it official. Press Secretary Leavitt will leave the White House at the end of August. Now keep in mind, she's 28 years old, the youngest person to ever hold the job, walking away near the top. So you may be asking, why now? Well, the answer is personal. In May, she gave birth to her second child, a daughter. She also has a young son that makes her the first press secretary to have a baby while serving in the role. By her account, The job and motherhood could no longer share the same hours. She said, and I quote, "Since returning to the White House after the birth of my daughter, I have felt in my heart that I cannot be the best mom my two young children deserve while devoting the constant time, energy, and attention required of the White House press secretary," end quote. She called it a bittersweet decision. Her run lasted about 18 months, starting when President Trump returned to office in 2025. That is the second longest of any press secretary President Trump has had, behind Governor Sanders. Through that stretch, she was the administration's voice on some of the biggest stories. Now, the podium sits open. No replacement has been named. During her leave earlier this year, officials rotated in. Vice President Vance, Secretary Rubio, and Secretary Bissett. Still, Press Secretary Leavitt is not leaving politics. President Trump says she will stay on as one of his top outside advisors ahead of the midterms. In her words, the fight is entering a new phase, but it is far from over. Follow at The About Media for more on this story, and now I shine the spotlight on you, the viewers watching this moment play out in real time. Here's the question I bring forth to the table for open discussion. How do you think someone should balance a high-pressure career with raising a young family? Bow.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.